public figures today, yesterday, and the day before predicting and all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
Obviously, Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans are the biggest threat to democracy.
This means war. That is where we are. We are at war with these people. These folks are evil.
And all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
This means war.
If you wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons.
We are at war with these people.
All right, folks, it's the Friday Free for All, and it's a free for all of us today. Special surprise. And I got to tell you, folks, it's been a long week, and I'm glad to have you here on the show. You are the resistance. You are the media. You are the sovereign people of this country. You, not them in charge, supposedly. Not them, the elites. Not those with special positions of power and authority. You, folks, are it. So let's start with this. Let's have some fun with this today. If you've got some questions, some comments, some thoughts, it's best to put them in all caps in the comment section. And if they pop up and I can grab them, woohoo, I'll get you on in the show. I'd like to do a shotgun where we go back and forth, but it's just me today running the whole show live and public for all. Now, I said you're the media. I said you're the resistance. I said you're the sovereign. Let's take a look. Let's take a listen. Let me tell you what the mainstream media says. The mainstream media says that you, my friends, the Americans, agree that Operation Epic Fury, which is also known as Operation Epstein Fury, the media says that it's an overwhelming success. Can you believe that? I find it hard to believe. The liberal media is happy with Trump and what's going on in the Middle East. They've never been happy, but now the media says Americans agree. The media found people and they're willing to run that. Funny, folks. Not funny. Every Republican I meet, I don't just walk up and slam them with a bunch of anti-Democrat or anti-Republican or anti-Israel or anti-Muslim. I don't do that. I ask them questions generally like, hey, what do you think? Is it okay for us to be in the Middle East fighting? Hey, what do you think of that? Tell me what you thought. I'm curious what you're thinking. Right? I leave the question open so they can answer honestly. And every Republican I meet is against this war effort. They're not happy because they don't want Americans killed over something that is largely has nothing to do with us. It's Israel and its problems with Iran, and it's Iran and its problems with Israel. It's the Middle East, not America. Okay. When I talk to people and I ask them about Israel, I go, what do you think of Israel and what they're doing here? They don't trust Israel. And they have very little respect for Washington, D.C., all the politicians there, including Trump. But yeah, the success is so overwhelming, right? This success is so overwhelming that the media is not allowed to show us videos or pictures of our naval warships, our allies and the bases we have on their countries. We're not showing pictures and videos of Tel Aviv. Why? One guess is all you're going to need. And it's, well, at least let me tell you my guess. The answer I have is because Iran has done a lot of damage, and some argue more than Israel and the U.S. have done. I don't know, but I'm very suspicious of what's going on because we're not being shown. We're just being told, support this or you're an anti-Semite. Support this war or you're not an American. Now, I also asked I like to ask questions. So let me ask you this. If Washington, D.C. and King Bibi Netanyahu are so victorious, why is the United States government continuing to try to get Iran to sign a ceasefire and negotiate with them? Iran has repeatedly said never. They're not going to do a ceasefire. They're not going to quit. What they have said is they're going to be finished when they're finished so that no one ever tries this crap again. Sounds like they're in it for the long run. Now, Corey here, thank you, sir. He says, once again, Americans need to pick through the lies and find the truth. I agree, Corey. Thank you, my brother. You have a good day. And here we have Northern Hillbilly checking in saying it's the Kalergi plan. The Kalergi plan is the plan being used by the Zionist Israelis to create, how do I phrase this? It's to create the Israeli world leadership, to make Israel a superpower, not just a little country, not just even a regional superpower, but a world superpower, and then the dominant world superpower. Good golly, folks. The United States is actually now, because they're defeating Iran so bad, what you do when you're defeating your enemy is you take your foot off their neck, right? You give them a chance to run around, regroup, rebuild, rearm. No, you don't. When you've got the enemy defeated, you defeat the enemy. But the U.S. has lifted restrictions on Iranian oil being sold because Iran is losing. Look, the loser gets to make more money before surrendering? What? So they're going to let Iran sell. They're going to let Iran sell. Really? So they can get more money to rearm themselves and keep fighting? That doesn't make sense. I'm also trying to pick out the things, the comments. If you would, like, you got a comment, a question, a thought, all caps will help me find it. The other thing that helps me find things is super chats on this Friday because it is open to public. It's crazy, folks. Now, let me continue if I shall, right? Why is our country, letting Iran sell its oil? Is it because they want Iran to keep fighting? Because they want this to continue? No, they want to get out of it. The United States also wants oil in the market to stay low in prices, right? We, the American people, the people of Europe, the people of the world are being deceived by Washington, D.C. and Bibi Netanyahu. You don't let your enemy win. You destroy them. I mean, just ask Israel how they dealt with the Palestinians in Gaza. They didn't stop while they were ahead. They didn't give them a chance to regroup and rearm. In fact, they said, we won't ever do that. We're just going to, they bombed that place literally flat. You know, you just don't do it. You don't buy the crap. Anyways, let's continue if we shall. This comment came from Darcy T. And she says, I wonder if they're planning to get rid of Trump by faking a deadly health condition now that his popularity amongst America Firsters and other Republicans is waning. Well, I found that interesting. It's possible. It's possible, right, that they could do that. It's possible. But will they? Well, try this on for size. Vice President J.D. Vance weighed in on Joe Kent's resignation. And, of course, as a quick reminder, Joe Kent is the head of counterterrorism with the DNI and CIA. Top dog resigns because he can't support the war effort because Iran did not have any weapons, and he feels it's morally wrong. Now, Trump attacked him personally, viciously, professionally, in all ways. They're threatening him with investigations and prosecution. J.D. Vance played this a little differently. He said he likes Joe Kent, but he also confirmed it was a good idea for Kent to resign because they did not agree. Okay. Oh, shit. The vice president did not attack Joe Kent personally. That's how you're supposed to do it. Trump attacks, Trump insults, Trump berates, and Trump belittles anyone who doesn't agree with him. There's a difference between being a diplomat and a diclomat. That said, enough on Joe Kent. We're going to find out what happens, what shakes down from there. Northern Hillbilly checks in and said, John is the only guy that likes my caps. It's smarter and easier to use caps. Only communists don't like all caps. I just want to be able to find people that have a question, because during the show, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's people just having conversations amongst others. You got trolls out there messing with other trolls. And then you've got, people who have a comment and question. So get them on up here. And here we have Provoke Your Thoughts with the $10 super chat. And he says, John, it's Cheryl Morrison. You were on to something with precious metals. Well, I think we're still on to something. And I guess we're going to talk about precious metals for a moment, Cheryl. Nothing in the market makes sense. Nothing makes sense at the moment. They've taken the board and they've just thrown all the pieces in the air. Economic investment experts that I've listened to are either pulling their hair out, shaking their head, or just verbally admitting this makes no sense. The Middle East, where a vast majority, a huge amount of oil comes from, is at war. It is a war zone. It is being bombed. They're bombing liquid natural gas. They're bombing oil fields. They're bombing... They're bombing everyone and everything over there. They've closed the Strait of Hormuz. And oil prices are down. Oil prices are flat. I mean, they shot up to $116 a barrel when the war broke out, and now it's down to $97.87 at the moment. Makes no sense. Safe haven assets in times of war, gold. Gold has gone down. Silver has gone down. Is it because it's cheaper and easier to find now? There's more of it all of a sudden? No. No, that's the precious metal safe. It's gone. But look, I checked across the board. I checked the commodities, minerals, precious metals, oil. Everything is down. In fact, our good buddy Pam Bondi told us, hey, the Dow's at 50,000. Dow's at 50,000 and going up. You should stop asking me about, let's see, politicians, businessmen, bankers, Israelis, Brits, American moguls are kidnapping, raping, murdering, and eating children. We shouldn't worry about that. We should be happy. Well, since then, we're down about 10%. Excuse me. I'm hanging on to this. I won't sell this. I'll tell you why. Not only is that ounce of silver up, it's still up, even though it's down tremendously from the all-time high. They killed it, folks. And it's very technical, but what they've done is they just sold a shit ton of paper into the market, not real metal. And the metal is being drained out of all of the exchanges and vaults internationally. The silver is going to industrialists who need it for processing, and the gold is going to central banks. They're killing the paper price while they're acquiring and scooping everything off the market. My suggestion, protect yourself. Talk to a financial advisor, see what they say. But if you can buy silver and gold cheap, what do you think it's going to do as this market is crashing? We're going to find out, folks. Let's see. What do I got there? We got some great questions in here. Okay. Anyways, I got to tell you, thank you very much for the super chat, Cheryl. and I hope you're doing very well. And if it's the Cheryl, I think it's the Cheryl of, it's been a long time. All right, let's do this. Chuck Norris has passed away today. Rest in peace. A living legend is now a timeless and I don't know how to describe it. Chuck Norris, man, the dude's amazing. Anyways, we'll miss him. We'll miss Chuck Norris, and hopefully there's someone that can come along and replace him. We got some interesting comments here. Man checks in. He says, how much of the war we are seeing is artificial intelligence? Well, what I do know is all of the meetings, or I should say what I do believe, all of these conferences and videos and, oh, look, it's Benjamin Netanyahu showing up at a coffee shop. Oh, it's Benjamin Netanyahu taking a walk with that treasonous piece of shit. The ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. They're fake. It's fake. So how much of the war are we seeing is artificial intelligence? Well, it could be all of it. We don't know. From far away video of explosions, military equipment, crashed buildings, crushed buildings. I don't believe any of it anymore. I don't believe any of it anymore. It could all be fake. We could all be being dicked around. How much do you know? What we do know is what we see with our eyes in the world we live in, right? That 10-mile radius. Higher prices of the gas pump. Not quite as high as Biden, but it's getting there. We're going to see higher prices for food. Why? Because they're not delivering oil. And what do we get from oil that's required for the rest of life? Fertilizer, folks. Fertilizer that makes our crops per acre yield more food. We're going to see huge increases in food prices next year as a result of expensive fertilizer and lack of fertilizer, meaning there's not as much food created. This is not going to bode well for America. It's not going to bode well for any company or any country because they're all dealing with the same thing. Plus, America produces a lot of food for the world. Crazy, crazy, crazy business. This is a great question. Diving Frog says, John, do you ever think Trump will finally have enough of Israelis' bullshit and turn on them? I think not, but it's a nice thought. I do not think Trump will because he is caved, he's caved, he's caved, he's caved. Now, someone might say, well, those are Trump's decisions already. They can make that argument. Trump would have done this already. But it certainly appears and sounds like Trump is Israel's bitch. Now, do we have any evidence of that? Well, Joe Kent said, we're fighting this war for Israel because Israel wants it. We had Trump doing what? Saying, well, we attacked Iran because we were afraid that they were going to attack Iran or Iran was going to attack Israel. Right? But it was going to happen. It was going to happen. So we just jumped into it. I mean, that's not reasoning. That's not intelligent thought. That's not justification along legitimate lines. That is just, we thought it was a great idea, right? They blamed Israel. They blamed Iran. They took responsibility. They pointed the finger elsewhere. Because of that, they can't believe that Trump is doing this on his own. I believe he's being controlled. Now, another bit of, how do we put this? Evidence do we have that would point that Israel likes to control the United States of America? Well, none other than Bibi Netanyahu himself stating over the years that Israel controls the United States of America. They control Washington, D.C. And there are reports from people who have, well, researched prior presidents have all been frustrated and angered and pissed off over Israel and its demands and its influence in our country. Not just from the president, but also the legislature and other places. It's not that we've had enough. It's just, what is their method of control? Money, blackmail, bribery, right? Well, money, when I say money, I mean legitimate campaign contributions. The secondary money is bribery. Once you've been bribed, now you can be blackmailed or extorted. I think that's what we got going on. All right, let us continue if we shall. It's really good to have everyone here on a Friday. Oh, it's hard to find everything. Yeah, I tell you. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, folks. Let's continue with this, though. I've got a ton of stuff. Yes, Chuck Norris has died. Very sad news. Let's see. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Trump today lashed out. He accused and castigated, made fun of NATO and said it's a, quote, paper tiger. And then he called them cowards. Now, I like throwing names around. I like calling people names. But this is coming from Trump, who's a man who's well known to be inside the Epstein files, and that the Epstein files contain disgusting, murderous freaks who are Trump's friends. He is afraid to upset his friends. He's afraid to reveal all these evil chicken shits that rape helpless children, murder helpless children, and even eat helpless children. So who's the coward? Who's the coward? So, let's continue with this, right? Oh, Trump may be a child raping, murdering coward too, but he hasn't released the Epstein files, which I think would serve to exonerate himself. And he hasn't. So what does that say? Keep shielding your Satanist friends, right? Now, one more thing. By calling NATO cowards, I think they're more like just broke, but they're also morally broke. But let's just go with this line of thinking. It's brave of the United States of America to gang up and attack a nation like Iran that has no nuclear weapons. And it's brave attacking a nation while sitting 6,000 miles away on your fat ass in a leather chair. How is that brave? How is that brave? It's not. Now, the Australian Prime Minister was insulted, some say attacked, and forced out of a mosque in Australia by pissed off, screaming Muslims. This needs to be a lesson, folks, for the world. Any attempts at goodwill gets treated as weakness. Now, I suppose perhaps in that mosque, the Muslims felt that their safe space was violated. Kind of like Christian culture feels invaded by rape culture and murder culture Islamists. This needs to be said. There is no coexisting. One moment. Okay, looking good. All right. There is no coexisting. There is only pretending to coexist until there's enough of these jihadis and then their violence gets started. The so-called moderates are just the least violent amongst them. They represent a silent minority of the invaders. Don't be fooled. Be prepared, folks. Be prepared. This is interesting. I read this story, and then we've got this comment here. Northern Hillbilly says the people are waking up and their vaccine-injured brains are finally coming out of the fog. I think the people are awakening, but people with vaccine-injured brains, I don't know if they can come out of their fog. I don't know. But what I do know is that a 47-year-old mayor suffered a medical emergency and died. Yes, folks, emergency medical services got there promptly. CPR was administered, but no luck. This is also a Darcy T note that I caught also. And she writes, I know 47 years old is not exactly young, but most heart attacks used to be survivable, especially when emergency medical services came quickly. It is not so with the Jim Jones juice, and I agree. In fact, this mayor's heart attack is very rare. Funny how we're getting rare diseases much more common now, kind of like children with enlarged hearts, pericarditis, just it is alarming and frustrating and disgusting that every death during the COVID lockdown was attributed to COVID. And after COVID was done, and after they put out the Jim Jones juice, anyone who has pericarditis, myocarditis, any heart attack, any clot, any pulmonary issue, any aneurysm, embolism, anything, that's just a coincidence. Nothing is attributed in death to the vaccines if they can get away with it. And everything was attributed to the death of COVID. In 2020, there were basically 0% of deaths for flu. There were no flu deaths, but everything was COVID. Funny how that works, isn't it? Except it's just not funny. Let us continue if we shall. I got so much to talk about, folks. We got retardation. Retardation in the media, retardation out in the people, retardation everywhere. It's not going to go away, folks. I think one of the best ways to get rid of it, though, is to point out how stupid they are and trolling them. Unfortunately, that plan hasn't worked really well. I've been trying it for years, and it's not stopping the retarded liberals. But because it's enjoyable, I continue to do it. Let me point out exactly how stupid these people are. Now, a mainstream media moron, Kathy Newman, decided that she was going to interview an Iranian spokesperson. And she wanted to put him on the spot, and she wanted to show that the Iranians are evil and bad. So you got to wonder, are they reading from a script, the mainstream media, or are they trying to be clever on their own? I think it's a little bit of both. So Kathy Newman, I almost said new moron. Kathy Moron Newman says, "You're striking gas fields in Qatar. These aren't military targets." The Iranian spokesperson says, "We're targeting U.S.-linked assets." Kathy, the moron, comes back again and says, "No, you're striking a gas field in Qatar." So once again, Iran's spokesman says, "Don't interrupt me. Who struck our gas fields first? We're defending ourselves." So then Kathy, in her infinite wisdom, says, "But a gas field isn't a military target." So then the spokesman says, "Then why were ours targeted?" Right? The hypocrisy, the stupidity, the inability to look at the complete picture. This exchange back and forth, I thought was very valuable and illustrative for us to hear. Listen, think about. They only see one side. They can't see both sides of the issue. And I want to put this up here. Simon Wagstaff says, Donald J. Trump cleared the way for Larry Ellison, Israeli, to buy Paramount, CBS, TikTok, and CNN. Ellison is a major contributor to the IDF, and I believe also to APAC, which is the America-Israeli Pedophile Action Committee. Now, why is this comment by Simon important? There's a lot of stuff going on in the background. People are very, shall we say, focused, whether they like to be focused or they can only focus on one thing at a time. So if you keep them distracted, bombing over here, war over there, right? Problem in the Far East, problem here, problem there. If you keep them looking in one direction, they can be doing things in the other direction, which are not so beneficial. Like our media being sold to individuals and corporations that support Israel and that they are Israeli and that's all they want is Israeli control of our country, our media. Oh, they're absolutely out there screaming to remove the First Amendment, to censor everybody, to criminalize free speech. U.S. Constitution right there. First Amendment. I'll say whatever the fuck I want about Israel, Israelis, Jews, anyone else. And folks, their legal foundation here in the United States of America, the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, right? They think that they can use lawyers to intimidate us. So if you said something like it's okay to be white, that is anti-Semitic. Anything you say that could somehow be used, something as inconspicuously silly as it's okay to be white, is considered anti-Semitic. How does that have anything to do with Israel? And criticizing Israel, criticizing their actions, criticizing their demands, criticizing their decisions, criticizing their morality, all that has nothing to do, right? It used to be if you're anti-Semitic, it means you don't like Semites. Criticizing a country, a secular nation, or their policies, or it's not anti-Semitic, it's anti-Israel. But they want to make it a crime. They do, they want to make it a crime. Now, I've told everyone here, I don't like any of these Middle East religions. Do you think that sounds radical? I don't like any other religion, meaning I couldn't follow those religions. I believe they're immoral because they don't abide by the golden rule, which is very simple. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, what's interesting is Tony Moon. Does everyone remember Tony Moon? He's the rooftop Korean from the Rodney King riots. He's still out here. He's still very active, even in social media. And so he wrote something I thought it was important to share. He says, you think Christians need to side with either Muslims or the Jews? We stand alone with Christ and recognize him as our king. Our allies are found within our own brethren, such as the Catholics and the Orthodox. We share a kinship with all those that proclaim Christ as king. What he's saying basically is you can reject both sides. At least this is my interpretation. You don't have to accept either. You don't have to root for either. You don't have to support either. Right? Support what is right. Now, I have something to add to Tony Moon's comments. And I'm going to say that all others are suspect by observing the fruits of their actions. Read their scriptures. Make notes of evil proclamations, and you'll understand who they are by what they say, what they believe, and the outcome, the consequences of the decisions they make. Look at the Middle East. And you could also look at our government in Washington, D.C. and what it's done, who it serves, who it affects, what it costs. In fact, doing stuff with Nikki says the economical repercussions. Yeah, economics. It is economically retarded to do what we're doing. We're only hurting ourselves. Let's start with the cost of the war. I believe they've blown over $10 billion, over $1 billion a day on this war so far. And they're asking for another $200 billion to fight this war with Israel. How is that good for our economy? You're taking wealth from our country and giving it away and blowing it away and bombing it away. You're destroying, you take money, you spend it on weapons, you ship the weapons over and blow it up, and then buy more weapons and keep doing this. How does that fix our roads? How does that pay for schools? How does that buy our children books? How does that keep our water clean and our air fresh and our food nutritious? None of this has been, someone did the numbers really quick. It's like $2,500 per taxpayer to spend another $200 billion on this fucking war. How does me or you or any of us taxpayers kicking out another $2,500, of course, that'll be financed long term, How does that help us? It doesn't. It hurts the economy, because instead of me spending $2,500 where it benefits me, just as you spending your $2,500 benefits you, it benefits the military industrial complex, and it benefits people who want us in a war. Not a good scene, folks. Not a good scene. Well, thanks to Tony Moon and other people that don't want to give up. By the way, when it comes to morality, decency, law and order, tradition, culture, Russia has now designated LGBTQ groups as extremists and terrorist organizations. Russia is continuing to move in a direction that suits people who have a moral foundation. And now I'm going to tell you and show you what is not a moral foundation. I want to remind you of Israelis' hatred of Christians, the Zionists' hatred of Christians, most Israelis' hatred of Christians and Americans. This is, well, it's supposed to be Netanyahu, but it's actually an artificial intelligence computer program simulation, right? A video. But it's being attributed to Netanyahu, and it sounds certainly like something he would say. I'm sure it's his general staff, the ones that haven't been killed yet by Iran. But they created an AI presentation of Netanyahu, who is quoted as saying, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. That is awfully anti-Christian and blasphemous to say, is it not? That's okay, John. You make fun of the Talmudic Jews and the ridiculous shit they believe, like having sex with children is fine and killing Gentiles, goy, is fine. Right? Yeah, well, I guess they're anti-Christianic. Anyways, let me give you some more of Netanyahu's alleged quotes. Because if you are strong enough, ruthless enough, and powerful enough, evil will overcome good. That's right. That's what Netanyahu said. If you are strong enough, ruthless enough, and powerful enough, evil will overcome good. Basically, Netanyahu's saying Israel thinks it's strong enough, ruthless enough, and powerful enough so that its evil will overcome good. Isn't that just fucking insane? I mean, Netanyahu here, or his AI speechwriters on his war council, showed us 100% that they're anti-Christian and a bit retarded as well. Netanyahu said evil can defeat good. Folks, good equals God. That's where the real word good came from. It's the word God. It's gut, God, right? So he compares Jesus to Genghis Khan, belittles Jesus as inferior, right? How can anyone justify such remarks as intelligent, brave, or accurate? You know, Israel, from what I've seen and I've heard from many of you, and also the whole world of social media, people believe it's a megalomaniac nation. The generals in charge, Bibi, they're evil, blind to their hatred of Christians and the world, and they think we're so unintelligent that we can't see it for what it is. Unbelievable. Oh, by the way, this is a terror alert. Terror alert for Florida. What I've read is that we're being told that Iran is going to target spring break locations. All caps in the comments, folks, will help me find people that have comments they want up here and they're not just having a little bit of chit chat. Well, Ogre says everything of value is a target. Everything of value is a target. So we've got a threat. We've got a threat that spring break locations, meaning Florida, are targets for Iran. If they're going to, they can't shoot a missile from Iran all the way to the United States of America. So how would they target the United States of America? Well, either with a submarine or maybe sleeper cells. But a target is a military target that you want to hit that removes your opposition's ability to continue to fight war, to demoralize and not empower a people, right? And to remove leadership, right? You want to take out targets. You want to stop your enemy's ability to continue to fight, to supply themselves. Hitting beaches in Florida would only piss off Americans and help them inspire them to want to support this war, which clearly they don't want to support right now. So this is a ridiculous target with respect to value. There's no value there in blowing up civilians. It would just piss off people and make them want to nuke the shit out of Iran. But there is a target. There is a target that they want to hit. And it's the Temple Mount, right? The Zionist Talmudic Israelis want to build their third temple, but there's a problem, right? The Dome of the Rock is there, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and then also a Christian holy site, right? This is crazy, folks. The third temple, the Antichrist, the Zionists, they're all in this. By the way, the Israeli Zionist government and the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, have closed for the first time ever, completely closed this Christian holy site on the Temple Mount. They closed it to all Christians, to the public, to everyone. Think about 9/11. Think about 9/11. For months and months and months, they had a contractor in there working on floors that were closed down. Interesting, right? Could they, the Zionist Israelis, be planting demolition charges, bombs in this holy site, right? The Temple Mount. Could they be doing that to blow it up, a false flag destruction of that holy place so they can build their satanic temple to Baal? Baal is that bull deity that, the Canaanites would sacrifice children to. Sacrificing children. We've heard about that lately, haven't we? Pretty sure we've been hearing about that. Oh, Afro Man. Yep, Afro Man. This is interesting. Here we've got a Viking. He says, in Israel, there is free speech for Jews, Christians, and even Muslims, which is ironic. Except now, Mr. Viking, interesting, let's keep an eye on this topic over the next few weeks, is members of the Israeli government have proposed a law that makes it illegal to preach and talk about Jesus publicly in social media or even in emails, pushing or promoting Christianity. It's a crazy world, man. I don't know who's going to win this, but I'm hoping it's going to be the good side, a side that likes life, liberty, freedom, and all that. Okay, let us continue. The unprepared mind checks in. It says, John, do you think they're going to invoke the draft? My answer to that is I don't know. I can give you a scenario wherein they won't, and I can give you a scenario wherein they will. Let's do this. And then, of course, Simon says, draft Baron Trump. Okay, if the United States can get out of this situation, this quagmire in the Middle East, if Trump can be like, you know what, we spent a lot of money, we spent a lot of weapons, we're losing American lives, we're losing the military, which means we're losing the public support. There's not a lot of support. We're losing our allies in the Middle East because our bases happen to be on their turf, their countries. And so they're seen as accessories to war against Iran. So they're getting bombed. They're losing their infrastructure and pieces of it. And any way that Israel or the U.S. attacks Iran, whether it's the infrastructure or the oil fields, then Iran responds in kind. It's not a winning situation. So if the United States of America says we're cutting our losses, we're going to claim victory, because you always claim victory, and pull out of there, then there will be no draft. On the other side, if they want to make this the next Afghanistan and spend 20 freaking years there, we're going to have problems. Already there are reports, and some people say they're realistic and other people say they're unsubstantiated, that members of the Navy on warships being deployed to the Middle East were flushing socks, underwear, T-shirts down the toilets to clog them so that they would back up with sewers and they would have to return to port to try and fix the problems, because you can't be in a war zone with, brown trout swimming down the halls. So that was one report of there's not a lot of morale. There's not a lot of love for what's going on. The second one was the energetic rise in people filing paperwork with the military. These are people who are enlisted and maybe even commissioned, for all I know, who said they were conscientious objectors. Conscientious objectors, meaning that's the way out of war, serving in violence, right? It's gonna get ugly and weird. It is, and I really believe that Barron and any politician in Washington, whether you like it or not, whether you're for a war or not, if you're sitting as a congressman, sitting as a senator, or sitting as the president, someone in your family, in your direct family, the closest lineal descent, must be enlisted and go into the combat zone. So in the president's case, Barron Trump. In Lindsey Graham's case, some young man's ass somewhere that he's been, whatever Lindsey does with young men's asses, right? But no, anyone in Congress, anyone in the White House, anyone, period. You've got to send a close family member into the military, and they have to go up to the front lines. I'm not saying you have to serve in combat, but be support in combat even, right? In other words, risk life and limb. If it's that important and you believe in it that strongly, the way I believe that you and I as Americans, and if you're up in Canada, Canadians, defend your country. Down in Australia, down under, you've got to defend your country. Same with Europe and England, you've got to defend your country. You as patriots are willing to put your lives on the line to fight whatever it is that you feel is wrong, bad, or even evil. If it's in your country, if it's in your province or state, if it's in your city, if it's in your neighborhood, you're going to go take care of that problem, and you'll risk your life doing it. The same should be applied to these freaking politicians. I haven't heard this name. This is a good one. Simon says Ambassador Mike Huckabee is on the case. I don't know what case he's on, but Mike Huckabee is one of the biggest mouths out there proclaiming that if you're Christian, you are subject to Jewish dominance. You owe the Jewish people. You owe them. You should be submissive to them. You should not, deny any request they have. You should run to their aid, run to their service, give up your money, give up your life. This Judeo-Christian bullshit. I told you what the Judeos said. The Judeos said Christ is no better than, in fact, not as good as Genghis Khan. And good versus evil? Hell, all you got to do is be extra strong and you can defeat evil. I'm sorry, evil can defeat good. How is that Christian in any way? It's not. It really isn't. It can't be. Mike Huckabee. That's some funny shit. All right, let's continue. I don't understand that one, so I'm going to skip it. Uh-oh. This is interesting. Who's your life? If they invoked the draft, let low-level prisoners a chance to redeem themselves and a chance at a career. Used to be you could just enlist to get out of prison time. Not anymore. Interesting. I don't know what to make of that. Prisoners. I mean, you can go get Lee Marvin's old movie, The Dirty Dozen, which was based on, I think, Jake McNasty and a bunch of miscreants going and kicking the shit out of the bad guys. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but it would seem to me that that would be one of the last ditch ideas. Because the last thing you want is to put a bunch of people out there that, whether it's true or not, criminals will always say, I was framed by the cops. Criminals will always say, I didn't stand a chance, man. I had to resort to crime, or I had to kill people for money or whatever, right? They're going to justify their crimes and then believe the government is bad for putting them in jail. And I'm talking about real criminals. I'm not talking about January 6ers. I'm not talking about Afro Man, who they tried framing, which is kind of humorous in a lot of ways. Yeah, it would have to be like a last thing. You would be afraid of giving weapons, anything bigger than a rifle, to a bunch of convicts who could then turn around and join the other side. They could rat on you to the enemy. It's risky business, folks. War is hell, and it's very difficult. So Flying with Michael says, why would anyone join the military if they don't want to fight? That's the purpose of the military. If you are in the military, it's too late to claim any objection against violence. It's a great point to make. Except there's one, and I'm, now again, I love to look at both sides. It's a great comment because it's worth studying and understanding. My perspective on this is, why would anyone join the military if they don't want to fight? Because a lot of Americans join the military believing nobody is going to go and fuck with the United States of America. At worst case scenario, we'll just nuke them. Best case scenario for the enemy is they just let us kill them slowly and mow over them and kick the shit out of them. So no one's going to mess with the U.S., so I can join safely. Well, why would you want to do that? A lot of people join the military in hard times, economic hard times, or if they come from a very poor area where there's not a lot of jobs or good jobs, they can't afford to move to a city, or they have no real skills. So they'll join the military in the hopes of finding a paycheck, 3 hots and a cot. But also, the military at times past have done everything they can to get people to join. Right? In good times. Come on, we'll give you a signing bonus. We'll pay for your college. We'll give you extra rank coming out of boot camp. You'll be an E3. I mean, some ridiculous stuff like that. So that's the hook, Michael. That's the hook. The purpose of the military, trust me, I get exactly what the purpose is. I've been there, right? But once you're inside, is it too late to claim an objection against violence? Now, look, I did not ever sign a conscientious objection waiver. But what if you went into the military and you saw what they were doing and you said, this just isn't right? Right? Can I object at that point? It's kind of like getting into a really bad relationship and you're like, hey, I didn't know you were a narcissist. I didn't know you were a drug dealer. I didn't know you were a drug addict. I didn't know you were a fucking prostitute. I didn't know you were a hitman. I didn't know anything about you. And now I'm stuck with you. You need to have a remedy to get out. Right? So it's an interesting topic, and I really appreciate you bringing up that subject. Thank you. Now, here we go. I'm just going to continue with you, Michael, because, again, a great point, and hopefully you're a more frequent member of the show, but it's the first time I think I've seen you. He says, not following orders is a criminal offense punishable by long prison sentences. That is correct, and it should be. Now, here's the deal. Not following orders is criminal. Refusing to follow unconstitutional, unlawful orders is not a criminal offense. It's not a criminal offense. If what you see is criminal, what do? I myself, as a Marine, refused to follow unlawful orders. I was not court-martialed. I wasn't even given NJP, and I'll tell you why. I explained to them, what you're telling me to do is unlawful. You will not tell me to commit suicide. Now, a difficult mission, a dangerous mission is not the same as being told, I'm going to suicide you. Okay? Murdering others, being told to commit a crime, murdering people, murdering your own people, murdering the enemy, and not the enemy, you can't murder the enemy in combat, but murdering civilians while in a combat zone, that's a crime, right? It's terrible. It's awful. War is hell, though. War is hell. And just remember that, Genghis Khan, if you're ruthless enough and strong enough and powerful enough, you can overcome good. Okay, thank you. Wow. And then, here we go. They killed Pat Tillman. Tinfoil hat steps in. Gotta love the tinfoil hat plumbers. Pat Tillman, NFL superstar, joined the military, killed by friendly fire. A lot of conspiracy there. What was believed was that Pat Tillman was going to expose the criminality that was going on in his unit and in the war. And that's why he was killed. We'll never know, will we? That's the crazy part. Now, Northern hillbillies are different than Bayou hillbillies. And what I'm going to say, I'm going to keep this simple. Hillbilly lives matter. That's all we need to say about that. You different hillbillies can all get along. Can't we all just get along? Oh, good golly. Let's try this, folks. The war against Israel. Let me ask you guys some questions. You may love Israel. You may support Israel. You may be Jewish. You may be Zionist. You may be Israeli. I don't give a shit. Let's just examine some facts. Let's just examine some facts. That's one more interesting comment I think I'll put up there. Okay, we're coming to the end of the show, folks. But I'll stay until I finish these last two comments and then mine. Is if Israel was so good, if what they were doing was right, if they were completely justified, if what is happening in Gaza is acceptable, why is it that NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, basically all of the European nations combined militarily, have said we're not going to support what you're doing? Even though the United States of America is a NATO member, and the United States of America has great sway over Europe, Europe is saying no. What does that say about the Israeli position, belief, attitude, and goal of fucking up the Middle East? They don't want any part of it. Neither Japan, nor Australia, China. Obviously, Russia's a big fat no. Nobody else wants to join this effort. It is not unanimous amongst the world that this needs to happen. We spoke about this a couple weeks ago when it started. Where was the effort to get a coalition of nations, the support of the world, like they did, back after 9/11, which still took years? Is Israel is in a big hurry. And we've been talking about how the evil bastards have stepped up everything. They're rushing, they're pushing, they're being careless, they're being sloppy. We're getting a bunch of Jew slop out of all this fake AI shit, all these complaints, claiming that everything is anti-Semitic, right? Having a cross, anti-Semitic. Being a Christian is anti-Semitic. Literally, being a Christian is anti-Semitic. And they want to make anti-Semitism a crime in Israel. They want to make anti-Semitism, saying anything, writing anything, distributing pamphlets, papers, in Florida, of all places. They want to make that a crime. They're trying to do it in all of the United States of America, up in the U.S. Senate. Fuck them. Anyways, no one's supporting Israel. In fact, now countries are turning against it. Egypt, folks, which is going to be absorbed by Israel if Israel is not stopped, because they have a Greater Israel program. The Greater Israel Project is to take parts of Egypt, certainly everything to the east of the Nile River, and a lot more of other countries around them, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria. Hell, they're even threatening Turkey. Egypt has said, that's it. We're going to build up on the Sinai, and they're now warning Israel to stop their aggression in Lebanon, or Egypt is going to get involved. Egypt is going to get involved because they want to protect Lebanon, which is being bombed. And I don't even have time to read everything that they're saying to Muslims in Lebanon. They're telling them to get the fuck out. Don't plan on coming back. We're going to bomb the shit out of your houses the same way we did in Gaza. That's a paraphrase, but it's freaking accurate. Now, Diving Frog says, what are the elitists going to do after all the shit has left the goose and they throw down the alien card? What's next? Armageddon, man. Armageddon. The apocalypse. The revelation. The exposure. The revealing. The revelation means to reveal. Revealing of evil. Revealing of what evil does. Everything is going to be revealed. Good and evil is going to be exposed. People are going to have to choose a side. I choose the side of good. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's it. You try and kill me, I have a right to defend myself, but I'm not going to go out. Anyways, it's a great question. What are you going to do? They want to destroy everyone and pronounce themselves lords of the earth. That's what the elites are going to do. They're already acting like it. They're fucking cheating on Wall Street. They steal everyone's money. Banks screw people over. They steal their houses. They repossess their cars. They take their property. They use the usury, charging 15, 20. Folks, I've been offered credit cards over 30% interest rates, and my fucking credit score is 815. 815, and they're offering me 32%, 33%, 31% interest credit cards. You're out of your fucking minds. They want to kill everyone they don't like. I don't want to kill anyone. I just don't want them in my country, which was not set up nor established for anyone who doesn't think like we do. In fact, if you look at the immigration rules that they used to have, is you used to have a skill, be able-bodied, and of the right moral character to be allowed into the United States of America, just to be given a work visa, a green card, so that you could work here while you're working towards citizenship. Now you come in and it's a fucking welfare enhancement to curse this country and steal everything. All right. Last comments by Barry Kelly. Unfortunately, there is always war crimes with every war. And I'll tell you what, Barry, unfortunately, that is very true. It's very true. There's nothing you can do about it. War crimes happen everywhere, by accident, by design, intentionally, on a small scale, on large scale. I get it. I understand it. I don't excuse it, but that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. This is what we've got to deal with. You do the best you can with a broken system. Unfortunately, right? And very unfortunately, Barry, for you, me, for Canada, for Great Britain, for Australia, for the whole world, we've got evil people in charge. I can think of very few politicians that aren't a bunch of self-serving, lying, hypocritical fucks. As a consequence, right, we have to deal with this. You get someone with integrity in there and you find out, right, now you have something to compare what's going on. Any way you look at it, we've got trouble on our hands, folks. The best thing we can do is apply your full knowledge, faith, wisdom, and of course, everything you can. And you are welcome, Michael, very much. I got it. There's too many comments. You guys are awesome. I want to thank you all for being here. Awesome. Great show. I'll be back Sunday for Sunday Night Live, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, folks. And I'll break the news to you next week about something that's going on, right? Northern Hillbilly, you're way off on this. It's not 200. There's over 250 journalists that we know of have been killed. All right, folks, chance favors the prepared mind is yours. May God bless America. Semper Fi.